Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. My name is Justin. I have an interesting video for you all today. So, we're going to be combining three theories. We're going to be looking at some similarities and differences after the fact. And then combining all of these three theories, we are going to be looking at a theoretical intervention. Let's jump right into it. We're going to look at the three theories presented. So, the theory of planned behavior, social cognitive theory, and self determination theory. To begin, the theory of planned behavior, just anything regards to background information and other videos will be linked in the description. This Padlet right here will be linked in the description of the video. So any of you can check out the videos and the resources provided. To begin, if we plan to do something, we are more likely to do it from the author of this video, Nathan Smith, as he introduces the theory of planned behavior. TPP is a widely applied model of attitude behavior relationships, and it has shown some degrees of success in predicting a variety of behaviors. So it highlights determining factors of an individual's decision to act out behaviors. It states that exercise behavior is made up of intentions, subjective norms, and attitudes, and perceptions of ability to control behavior. This bled out of the theory of reasoned action that suggested similar thoughts, such as the suggested elements of voluntary behavior are based on one's intention to engage in that behavior, and that behavior is under the control of that person's very own intentions. From there, we have to discuss what intentions are in the context of this theory of TPB. So, intentions result from a person's attitude towards a specific behavior and what's normal or to them regarding their behavior or their subjective norm, which we will touch on later. The quality and strength of a person's intentions, as with their perceptions of ability to perform, are important in influencing behavior. From there, we look at what the theory itself encompasses. It's comprised of six mini constructs that collectively represent a person's actual control over the behavior. To begin, we look at attitudes. So, the degree to which a person has a favorable or unfavorable evaluation of their behavior. From that, it bleeds into behavioral intention. So, the motivational factor that states that the stronger the intention to perform the behavior is, the more likely the behavior will be performed. From there, we talk about subjective norms, as hinted to earlier. So, the belief about whether the person themselves approves or disapproves of the behavior. From that, it bleeds into social norms. So, customary codes of behavior and social norms are considered normative or standards. And those are all considered when talking about exercise behavior. That bleeds into perceived power. So, it's a perceived presence of factors that may facilitate or hurt performance of behavior. And this perceived power contributes to a person's perceived behavioral control. So, an individual's perception of the extent to which performance of the behavior is easy or difficult. And that control varies across situations, actions, and it could result from a person having a variety of perceptions of behavioral control depending on various situations that they are in. From all of these six constructs we've discussed, we look at some other aspects of what the theory itself encompasses. So it attempts to predict non-voluntary behavior by incorporating perceptions of control over performance of the behavior as an additional predicator. Perceptions of control are important as they extend the theory's use into complex goals and completing a complex series of events such as losing weight, which is pretty imperative as it relates to that potential intervention we'll talk about, as well as many theories of exercise behavior. And it is, it depicts behavior as a function of behavioral intentions and PPC, as we've talked about earlier. It is good at predicting exercise intentions, but not actual exercise behavior. Practitioners have to understand a variety of barriers that people feel is what is preventing them from actually exercising, and thus, in that instance, provide coping mechanisms to effectively deal with these barriers. Now that we've talked about the theory of planned behavior, we can look at the social cognitive theory. The social cognitive theory is born out of Dr. Bandura's work. From this presented video, if any of you had the free time to watch it, Bandura studied how people learn by observing both the actions of others and the consequences of those actions. From that, we could talk about social cognitive theory. It argues that exercise behavior is influenced by personal, behavioral, and environmental behaviors, especially self-efficacy, and that is strongly related to exercise participation. It attempts to explain how people regulate their behavior through control and reinforcement to achieve goal-directed behavior that can be maintained over time. To this, we could talk about what the theory itself actually encompasses. Just like the previous one, it encompasses 6 different constructs. The first 5 was when it was part of an older theory, which we will discuss in a sec. And the last one was added when it was officially made the SCT in 1986, which we'll talk about later. We talk about reciprocal determinism, the dynamic and reciprocal interaction of a person and behavior. So, for example, an individual with a set of learned experiences, and I forgot to mention the environment, so that external social context, and the behavior, so the responses, the stimuli to achieve goals. Then you have your behavioral capacity, so a person's actual ability to perform the behavior through essential knowledge and skills. For this, it argues that in order to successfully perform a behavior, a person must know what to do and how to do it. And people will learn from the consequences of their behavior, which also affects the environment that they live in. And then this bleeds into observational learning, which states that people can witness and observe a behavior done by others and then reproduce those actions. You're essentially modeling those behaviors. From there, it bleeds into reinforcement, so the internal or external responses to a person's behavior that affects the likelihood of continuing or discontinuing a behavior. Reinforcements can be self-initiated or in the environment, and reinforcements can be positive or negative. From then, we could talk about expectations, so your anticipated consequences of a person's behavior. Outcome expectations can be health or non-health related, and people can anticipate the consequences of their actions before engaging behaviors, and these anticipated consequences can influence successful completion of the behavior. And from there, we look into the final point, which is part of the final SCT theory, self-efficacy, so that the level of a person's confidence in his or her ability to perform a behavior is influenced by specific capabilities, individual factors, environmental factors as well. From there, we can look at what else the theory incorporates itself. It started off as social learning theory and then developed into SCT in 1986. Unique feature about it is how it emphasizes social influences and external and internal social reinforcement. It considers the way in which people obtain and maintain behaviors, as well as considering the social environment where the person acts out that behavior. It also takes into account past experiences, which include reinforcements, expectations, and expectancies, all of which shape whether a person will act out a specific behavior, as well as the reasons why they engage in that specific behavior. As well, human behavior is motivated and regulated by the ongoing experience of self-influence, and the major self-regulative mechanism operates through 3 principal subfunctions: self-monitoring of one's behavior, judgment of one's behavior in relation to personal standards, and effective self-reaction, and the self-efficacy mechanism. Briefly touch on that. That's integral in the exercise of personal agency by its strong impact on thought, effect, motivation, and action. From there, we can talk about self-determination theory. Once again, if any of you want to watch the videos listed in this Padlet, you are free to. But from the author of this video, he discusses how self-determination theory has implications, especially for empowerment, success, and caring. From that, we could actually talk about the theory. It argues that people are motivated to satisfy 3 general needs: competence, autonomy, and social connectedness. Competences have necessary skills or knowledge to perform an action. Autonomy is being self-determined or controlled. Social connectedness or relatedness is belonging or connecting to a group. From there, we talk about a key concept of this theory. SDT is self-determination forms. You have several forms that lie on a spectrum that are integral to the quality of your motivational behavior. We have external regulations, so obtaining rewards; introductory regulation, so internalizing but not fully accepting a behavior as one's own; identified regulation, so participation due to one holding an outcome significant and important; and then intrinsic regulation, the highest autonomous form, engaging in an activity or behavior due to its inherent satisfaction of fun, interest, or challenge. From there, we can actually look at some what the theory encompasses. Just like the previous ones, this is one similarity. Each of them have six subsets to each of them, which is kind of funny. Even though there are differences to it, each for some reason have six subsets. And these six subsets for SDT include cognitive evaluation theory. So it deals with the intrinsic motivation, which is based on behaving for its own sake, deals with some social context and how factors such as rewards, interpersonal controls, and ego involvements impact intrinsic motivation and interest. Organismic integration, apologies for the pronunciation. So it deals with extrinsic motivation, forms, properties, determinants, and consequences, tackles external regulation, interjection, identification, and integration, all falling in line with the broader concept of internalization. From there, it bleeds into we talk about causality orientation theory, or COT. COT describes individual differences in people's tendencies to lean towards an environment and regulation behavior in various ways. There's three different types of causalities within this theory: autonomy orientation, so they act out for themselves; control, so they focus rewards, gains, and approval; and impersonal, amotivated orientation, so it's defined by anxiety, concerning, competence. From there, we look at some basic psychological needs theory, the BPNT. Psychological well-being and optimal functioning is predicted on autonomy, competence, and relatedness. All three are essential. And if any are diminished, there's going to be costs. Goal context theory, GCRT, grows out of the distinctions between intrinsic and extrinsic goals and their impact on motivation and wellness. The goals are seen differently, affording basic need satisfactions, and are differently associated with well-being. You have your extrinsic goals. They have been contrasted with intrinsic goals, and these extrinsic goals are more likely to be associated with lower well-being, and greater ill-being. So you'll feel worse. And we look at the final subset, relationship motivation theory. So relatedness is integral to RMT. RMT states that some of these interactions are not only desirable, but essential for well-being, as they provide satisfaction for relatedness. And all of these theories bore out of lab and field research, and they address one facet of their motivation to functioning of an individual's personality. From there, we talk about how SDT can facilitate motivational development, noting how more controlled regulations can be internalized and transformed into autonomous motivation in scenarios that create satisfactions of autonomy, relatedness, and competence. So when we have these met, more self-determined forms of motivational regulation guiding / adaptive behaviors can occur. Research utilizing this has shown various levels of increased satisfaction, improved attendance, greater drops of BMI, improved adherence to weight loss, as well as other psychological and biological factors. And as well, SDT, under the SDT theory, people who show autonomy in their exercise behavior and have strong social support systems exhibit stronger motivation and enhanced exercise adherence. This model of exercise argues that a sizable share of variety of exercise associated with SDT, so different types of exercise that are part of that encompassing theory of SDT, may be explained via indirect or mediating mechanisms, as well as some of the other mechanisms mentioned within this theory. Now that we have discussed all the theories, we can actually talk about synthesizing these theories, combining these theories. And before we can do that, we have to look at some similarities and differences between the three theories. Each of these theories works and addresses on how people maintain adherence, motivations, intentions, and general exercise behavior, tackle the importance of individual factors in behavior change, such as self-efficacy, attitudes, beliefs, and so forth, discusses how people obtain and maintain behavior, looks into the effects of autonomy, self-efficacy, and one's perception of control, and factors in the influence of social and environmental factors. There is a lot of similarities to each of these. Some go into more depth per se, but each of these, to some varying extent, tackles very key important factors when you talk about exercise behavior, when you talk about adherence, when you talk about autonomy, when you talk about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and environmental factors and so forth. There are a lot of similarities between the theories, but we do need to look at some differences or some conflicts with the theories. For example, TPB focuses on social factors influencing attention compared to the other theories. This theory focuses more on environmental influences and outside extrinsic motivations compared to SDT and SET, which are more intrinsic. TPP also predicts exercise intentions, but it's, as previously mentioned, not as good as predicting or addressing exercise behavior compared to other theories. SDT focuses more on motivational development and applying usable behavioral regulations in creating autonomous behavior. It has more practical usage in the fields in lab and field research compared to other theories. SDT argues that human behavior is motivated and regulated by one's self-influencing. Here we talk about how it focuses more on the role of personal behavioral behaviors as well as self-efficacy. It has more of an influence on that self-efficacy thing aspect we talk about in comparison to previous theories. Though the theories tackle similar concepts to self-efficacy, STT is one that goes into more detail on how it relates to the theory. As well, SCT focuses more on social influences and external and internal social reinforcement and the relationship between the two. From there, we can combine all these theories that we've talked about. We talk about our presented theoretical intervention protocol. From here, we want to combine the purpose of this intervention is to combine these three presented theories and to examine if exercise behaviors, self-regulatory behaviors, adherence to a program, and other factors are influenced through an intervention protocol that takes key core concepts such as self-efficacy, positive social environment, autonomy, and intrinsic moment that are common among the three theories, and see if we could actually examine if those long-term behaviors related to those three theories, as well as exercise and weight loss, can be fostered through a protocol that incorporates all three of the elements as previously mentioned. This intervention would also focus on improving weight, body composition, and adherence to exercise protocol, as well as focusing on more of the psychological aspects and seeing if an environment that promotes self-efficacy, a positive social environment, autonomy, and intrinsic motivation can be continued to be maintained and encouraged and even improved upon when we talk about these. After a 12-month intervention protocol, we theorized that those in the experimental condition would have greater perceived autonomy, more autonomous self-regulation or self-efficacy, higher intrinsic motivation and perceived competence, higher exercise levels, and increased weight loss. And we also argued that those in the experimental condition group that supported a strong social support system would showcase stronger motivation and better exercise adherence. From there, we can look at the methods and the methodology of this theory. To begin, we'll look at some instruments that will be used for data collection. These questionnaires and these scales and weight collection and all that are related to the aspects of weight training, relation to the three theories mentioned. So these are surveys and questionnaires that are found in various papers that tackle or utilize the theories that we've discussed today in their own research papers, such as a healthcare climate questionnaire, so that assesses perceived needs support and how often was autonomy support. Well, how often an environment was autonomy supportive versus controlling, the self-determination scale, individual differences, and the extent to which patients function in a self-determined way. The differential emotional scale will be a 1 to 8 scale, 1 being positive or negative, 8 being positive. They're going to Participants will answer questions on how effective the training routine was in improving the qualities that will be listed or that have been listed, correction, and will be related to the three theories discussed. They also ask questions on self-efficacy, if they felt autonomous, and so forth. The RPE scale will be implemented at the end of sets, and compound lifts, whatever is asked of the training protocol. And those will be used to ascertain if perceived effort was given in a workout, if it's higher or lower. And weight and BMI collection, at the moment, it's just going to be a common weight collection scale. So at the end of the week, weight, fat mass, and BMI will be collected at the end of a training week, just to see if there's a positive or negative change associated with the intervention protocol. From there, we can look at the environment and the training protocol for the experimental group. The environment itself, 30 participants are going to be placed in an environment that promotes autonomy, self-efficacy, intrinsic motivation, and competence. The autonomy and socially supportive, a socially positive environment will be created as to promote, as previously mentioned, autonomy, self-efficacy, and so forth. This environment will involve face-to-face contact with practitioners and participants, motivation, verbal encouragement, positive feedback, cheering, setting goals, so forth, and any other aspects related that can be utilized from the three core theories that we've talked about today will be utilized to create the positive environment. Some of the theories, obviously, as we have mentioned, focus more on extrinsic social aspects. So if there are more cues related to that, we will implement that into the environment. As long as we are maintaining a positive environment that encourages self-efficacy and autonomy, that is the goal of this intervention. As well, a positive note, for example, the environment would include participants stating that the environment was supportive in encouraging them to perform the protocol, along with people stating that they feel more autonomous in their actions while in the gym. That is just an example of what could occur with the intervention. Finally, we look at the training protocol itself. This will involve a strength training program that focuses on bodybuilding and push-pull splits. Working these types of lifts will allow for easier cataloging of data, as well as for easier adherence to the program compared to a more difficult training style, such as an Olympic style training program or powerlifting training style. Warm-ups will consist of 10 to 15 minutes of cardio, followed by 45 to 60 minutes of weight training. We also want to consider that the workouts will be done at the same day, at the same time frame, so that will be ample time to complete the workouts in relation to, say, personal or potential schedule conflicts. Positive note on the program, for example, theoretically would involve increased numbers of lifts, as well as increased adherence to the program and potential weight loss / BMI fat loss. Finally, we look at the group selection for the methods and methodology. The following intervention will examine the impact of a living environment that promotes aspects of the three presented theories to see if such an environment will have a positive or negative impact on performance and weight loss. 30 participants will be selected for the protocol. They're going to have to fall under the following criteria. So they have to be 23 to 45 years old, BMI between 20 and 40 kgs. They have to be considered low tolerant, or those who do not regularly lift, as those who perform lifting on a regular basis will be used to higher levels of stimuli compared to people who do not regularly weight lift. The target area, we want to focus on overweight / obese men to see if the utilization of these three theories into creating a positive autonomy, self-efficacy, supportive environment will help with weight loss, with fat loss, and in improving exercise adherence and exercise numbers. And also, these participants have to be willing to come to weekly meetings during a 1-year protocol and not do any other weight training protocol. We could have potentially 3 to 4 sessions per week. More or less can come about depending on potential scheduling conflicts. The group was also selected so the results could be seen efficiently, as previously mentioned. Those who are lifting or are not willing to participate in the protocol would be used to the stimulus. And as well, to end off on this note, the group type criteria was selected so effective changes could be noticed in regards to body mass, fat, and overall weight loss. And that is the end of this presentation. As previously stated, any and all sources that were used are provided in this Padlet. A link will be provided to it at the description. There are several YouTube videos and research articles and websites that have helped with the research of this video. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.